Hello everyone, welcome to Literature Camp, a channel for the preparation of UGC NET and set in English literature. I am Debarghya Chakraborty. This is my fifth class on Unit 5 of UGC NET syllabus, that is Language, Basic Concepts, Theories and Pedagogy. I hope you have seen my first 4 classes on Unit 5 that will help you immensely for your preparation of UGC NET. The topic of our today's discussion is ELT, that is English Language Teaching and Pedagogy. This topic is very much important from the point of view of UGC NET because many questions come from this topic in UGC NET exam. So let's learn this topic well, and I hope you're going to make notes of all the points I'm going to make throughout the class. So be ready with a pen and paper and start making notes. Let's start this class. English language teaching. What is ELT or English language teaching? ELT includes various approaches, techniques, and methods that are used, that are involved in teaching English, to people with English as their first language. This is category 1. This is point number 1. And also to those who use English as second language. This is category 2. And English as a foreign language. So there are 3 categories. All right. The first category of teaching English to people with English as their first or native language. That is why it is called ENL, English as native language. All right. So think of the people who speak English as their first language or native language. Think of UK, think of US, right? They use English as their first native language. That is why it is called ENL, English as native language. The second category is this: when English is used as the predominant language for communication at work and for education, but not at home. It is termed as ESL, English as second language. This happens in the immigrant communities of countries such as Australia, New Zealand, or Canada, and of course in India. Think of us, the people of India, who use English as the predominant language for communication at work, for education, but not at home. We barely use English at home, right? So that is why it is termed as English as second language. This is category 2. The third category is these: countries such as Brazil, Japan, Thailand do not use English for communication. They barely use English for communication. They do not care about English. All right, but not at elementary level of education. They use English for international communication. For example, when there is a lack of another common language, they use English as a foreign language. That is why it is termed as EFL, English as foreign language. So this is category 3. So there are 3 categories of ELT, English language teaching. The category 1 is English as native language, right? This is category 1. Second category is English as second language. This is category 2. And third category is EFL, English as foreign language. Think of the countries such as Brazil, Japan, and Thailand, right? So please make a note of these 3 categories. These are very much important. Now, one question can come from EFL, that who is the first director of EFL? So it is Professor V.K. Gokak was the first director of EFL. Let me write it down. Professor V.K. Gokak is the first director of EFL, English as foreign language. In India, English is also sometimes used as EFL, English as foreign language, when There's a lack of common language we speak in English, right? So that is why it is called EFL. But Professor V.K. Goka, he founded a university. This is something very much important we need to know. Founded a university in Hyderabad. The name of the university is EFL University in Hyderabad in 1958. So he founded EFL University in Hyderabad in 1958. So definitely three questions can come from this area. Who is the first director of EFL? It is Professor V.K. Goka. Second question, who founded EFL University, or where he founded EFL University? It is Hyderabad. All right. Next, the year in 1958, this university was founded by Professor V.K. Goka. So please make a note of this. Now, ELT in India. In India, the traditional method of teaching English is used, and the learners are still taught in the traditional grammar method. So this is the traditional grammar method. It is a method of teaching. So one question can come, what is the traditional method of teaching? So it is traditional grammar method. There are some methods of teaching. I shall be discussing these methods of teaching in detail in this class. So just make a note of this. The traditional method of teaching English in India is traditional grammar method, where importance is given to writing and reading, and with an attention to interactions or actual use of the language. All right, that is the traditional grammar method, the traditional method of teaching English in India. Next, acquisition and learning distinction. What is it? It was Stephen Crossan. This name becomes very much important in this field. So Stephen Crossan, who famously drew the distinction between language acquisition and language learning. In my previous class, I have discussed language acquisition in detail. So please watch that class. That will help you to understand this concept of language acquisition and language acquisition device of Noam Chomsky, right? So Stephen Crossan, he drew the distinction, the difference. He differentiated between language acquisition and language learning. All right, and he presented first as a research paper. He presented it first as a research paper, then later on developed into a book called Principles and Practice in Second Language Acquisition. This is very much important. Please make a note of this. Published in 1982. Simply they can ask Principles and Practice in Second Language Acquisition. Who wrote it? So it is Stephen Crossan. Published in 1982. This is also something that you need to remember. And Crossan propounded that acquisition and learning distinction involved in L2, that is language 2, second language learning, through the famous monitor model hypothesis. So another question can come, what is monitor model hypothesis, or who propounded or who coined the term monitor model hypothesis? So it is Stephen Crossan. Stephen Crossan used it, or he propounded this concept of monitor model hypothesis in that book, in his book Principles and Practice in Second Language Acquisition, published in 1982. So please make a note of this monitor model hypothesis of Stephen Crossan. All right, next concept is behaviorism. This is something also very much important. Primarily, this concept of behaviorism was developed by B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner, all right, and he wrote a book, Verbal Behavior. Verbal Behavior, published in 1957. So B.F. Skinner developed this concept of behaviorism in his book Verbal Behavior. So what is behaviorism? Behaviorism advocates that learning is the acquisition of new behavior through conditioning. Yes, his point is conditioning, that we learn new language or new things, new concepts. Learning is the acquisition of new behavior through conditioning. Yes, his importance is on conditioning. Please make note of this term, conditioning. And the three basic assumptions of behaviorism are: number one is learning is manifested by a change in behavior. It is very true. Learning is manifested by a change in behavior. This is point number one. Second point, environment, yes, plays a very important role to shape the behavior. That is point number two. Third point, the principles of contiguity, how close in the time two events must be for a bond to be formed, and reinforcement are central to explaining the learning process. This is point number three. So behaviorism is predicated upon these three assumptions of on behavior. Learning is manifested, the point number one is learning is manifested by change in behavior. Definitely it is true. Second point, environment shapes behavior of a person. It is also true. The third point is principles of contiguity and reinforcement are central. So principles of contiguity and reinforcement are central to explaining this learning process. So just try to remember these terms. The principles of contiguity and reinforcements are central to explain this learning process. All right, so the concept of behaviorism is very much important. I hope you have understood this concept. This concept is developed by B.F. Skinner in Verbal Behavior, and they can ask the three assumptions of behaviorism as well. Next concept is cognitivism. What is cognitivism? Definitely this question, definitely questions will come in assertion reasoning part. They will give two sentences, and you need to say they're true or false. So read this topic very carefully. What is cognitivism? The behaviorists were criticized for being too dependent on behavior to explain learning. But what is cognitivism? The main challenge came from cognitive school. The two key assumptions of cognitive approach are: number one is memory system. Memory system is an active, organized process of information. Cognitive means you can very much understand, right? The memory system is an active, organized process of information. Second point is prior knowledge plays an important role. Your previous knowledge, prior knowledge, plays an important role in learning. So cognitivism school, they focus on your own learning, individuals learning, own learning or prior knowledge. That is the main approach by cognitive school of learning. All right, but if I talk about behaviorism, they focus on environment. They focused on environment, not on individual. But if I talk about cognitivism, they focus on an individual's learning, his uh, his knowledge, his memory system. The memory system is an active organized process. This is number one. Second point, prior knowledge plays an important role in learning. So I hope you understood. Cognitivism focuses on individuals learning, and behaviorism focuses on environment in learning process, in this learning process, right? Next concept is constructivism. Again, this is something that we need to know. What is constructivism? Constructivism views learning as a process in which the learner constructs or builds new ideas, concepts based on the current and past knowledge, previous knowledge, right? So, constructivist learning is thus a very personal endeavor. It's a personal endeavor whereby internalized concepts, rules, and general principles may be applied in practical real world, and also known as social constructivism. Yes, it posits that knowledge is constructed when individuals engage socially in talk and actively about started problems or tasks. Learning is here seen as a process. Again, learning is a process by which individuals are introduced to a culture by more skilled member. So, what is constructivism? If I describe it in a single sentence, constructivism is a combination of cognitivism and behaviorism. Think about it. Constructivism views learning as a process by which learners actively constructs and builds new ideas or concepts based on their current and prior knowledge. That is the concept of uh, cognitivism, right? And they use it, how they use it socially, culturally, right? So learning is here in the concept of constructivism. Learning is seen as the process by which individuals are introduced to a culture by more skilled member. So here the importance on individuals learning, individuals prior knowledge or his current knowledge, and his social interaction also plays an important role in learning. So that is the concept of constructivism. I hope you have understood. Our next concept is new Parthian theory. What is new Parthian theory? Who coined it or who termed it? The new Parthian theory, also known as the scale and category theory, is associated with major linguists such as J.R. Firth and M.A.H. Halliday. It gained popularity in LT language teaching because number one, it gave sufficient space for meaning at all levels. This is number one. Second, it gave equal weight to all levels of language. So importance on sufficient space for meaning at all levels. Number two is again equal weight to all levels of language. That is the idea or the theory of new Parthian. They can ask the name J.R. Firth and M.A.K. Halliday, who are associated with this concept or theory, new Parthian theory. Next, ethnography of communication. This is important. You get this term in question paper. So it is, first of all, it was Del Hymes, all right, who put forth this concept of ethnography of communication. So who coined it or who introduced it or who developed this concept? Definitely this question can come. Is Del Hymes, Hymes, as an approach towards analyzing patterns of language used within speech communities, basically defined as the study of individuals' communicative activity in social settings. So I hope you can understand by the word itself. Ethno means race, culture, which is associated with people, culture, right? So ethnographic communication, first of all, Dale Hyams, who used it or who uh, introduced this type of communication, ethnography of communication, as an approach towards analyzing patterns of language use uh, used within the speech communities, right? Basically defined as the study of individuals communicative and activity in social settings. So this is all about ethnography of communication. Next, yes, as I've told you already, I shall be discussing the methods of language teaching. So what is the formal method? That is grammar translation method. That is the traditional method, formal traditional method of teaching English. That is the first method, grammar translation method or traditional grammar method, historically used to teach Greek and Latin. This method historically is used to teach Greek and Latin, and thus known as the classical method. It is also known as classical method. All right. So this is one of the oldest and traditional approaches in language teaching. As the name indicates, the thrust of these approach is on teaching grammar and translating the target language. That is why it is called LT, into learner's mother tongue language. Classes are taught in the learner's MT, that is mother tongue, with very little active use of LT, sorry, TL here English. So I hope this is very easy concept. As the name indicates, you can very well understand this approach is on teaching grammar and translating the target language. That is why it is called TL, target language. So English can be a target language in this case, right? So into learner's mother tongue. That is why it is called MT, mother tongue. So number one point that you need to remember is the focus of this grammar translation method is they focused on grammar teaching, right? This is number one. Second point is translating it into mother tongue. That is all about grammar translation method. And yes, one more information that is something that you need to remember here. In this method, teachers are given active role. So who play active role in this method? Teachers. Teachers are given active role. Teachers play active role in this method of teaching, right? The next method we shall be discussing, direct method. Yes, developed initially as a reaction to grammar translation method, or a direct approach attempts direct method attempts to integrate the more use of TL in instruction. Teaching is done in TL and grammar is taught inductively. Reading and listening are given primary importance. Yes, and only useful everyday language is taught. So communication, it is used for communication. It refrains from using learners native language or MT in the classroom. So very much important, they can simply ask the concept of direct method. So direct method replaced the traditional method, that is grammar translation method. This is number one information that you need to remember. So in this method, direct approach method attempts to integrate more use of TL in the instruction. Teaching is done in TL and grammar is taught inductively. Grammar is taught inductively. Indirectly, that means reading and listening are given primary importance. Again, you can understand. Secondly, only useful only this method is used for everyday language teaching. That means it is used for communicative English. It refrains from using learners' native language or MT in the classroom, mother tongue in the classroom, right? So this is all about direct method. And let me tell you here, learners play active role. So in the previous method, as I have discussed, method grammar function method, who play the important role? These teachers play important role, right? But in this method, direct method, learners are given active role. So definitely this can be asked. So I hope you have understood this direct method. Let me just summarize what I have said so far. In direct method, teaching is done in target language, that is TL. Grammar is taught indirectly or inductively. Reading and listening are given importance primarily on are given primary importance, right? Secondly, this kind of this method is used for communicative English, for daily usage, right? It refrains from using learners' native language or mother tongue language in the classroom. So please make a note of these information. They are very much important. Next concept is silent way. What is silent way? This is designed to enable the learners to become independent. This is the best method, right? Not according to me. This is designed to enable the learners to become independent. Autonomous method, responsible learners. The silent way of teaching and learning was created by Caleb Gattegno. Definitely they can ask the name. Who has introduced this concept, the silent way method? That is Caleb Gattegno. The main principles of the silent way are: number one, learning is facilitated when the learners discovers or creates what is to be learned. So it is not the teacher who will decide what to be learned. It is the students, it is the learners who will decide the topic of discussion. Very good. That is very good, right? Learning is facilitated when learners discovers or creates what is to be learned. Secondly, teacher is silent here, silent engineer, creating a non-threatening atmosphere or for language learning, right? This is very much interesting. Teacher plays a silent role, silent engineer, that's why, creating a non-threatening atmosphere for language learning. Thirdly, point number 3, learners errors. Learner errors are dealt through self-monitoring and peer correction. So you will identify your own error. Learners' errors are dealt through self-monitoring and peer correction. Teachers never indicates disapproval. Teachers are also independent in this. So in the silent way method, teachers are independent, students are more independent. All right. So this method was created by Caleb Gattegno. This is number one information, very much important. Secondly, these points, the main principles: learners the learning is facilitated when learner discovers or creates what is to be learned. Secondly, teacher is silent engineer, creating a non-threatening atmosphere for language learning. Thirdly, learner errors are dealt through self-monitoring and peer correction. Teachers never indicate any disapproval. Teachers are also independent. They provide enough freedom to learners to learn the topic according to their own way. That is the concept of the silent way of teaching English. The final topic of today's class is Suggestopedia. This is again can come in examination. A teaching method. It's a teaching method developed by Bulgarian psychotherapist Georgy Lazanov. This name you need to remember, Georgy Lazanov. Suggestopedia applies positive suggestion. It applies positive suggestion in teaching. The name is derived from suggestion and pedagogy. It is based on suggestiology, a psychological theory that says that human beings respond to subtle clues. That is true, of which they are not consciously aware of. If you think of Suggestopedia, in this world of MCQ, we sometimes forget the correct answer and we ask for clues. And whenever we get clues, we instantly remember the answer, right? So this concept is developed by Georgy Lazanov. This is number one. Secondly, Suggestopedia applies positive suggestion in teaching. The name is derived from the word suggestion and pedagogy. That is why it is called Suggestopedia. It is based on suggestiology, a psychological theory that says that human brain responds to subtle clues of which they are not consciously aware of. So please make a note of this. This is something which can come in UGC NET examination as well. I hope you have written down all the points I have made today. If you have any query, you can simply ask in the comment section. And please check out the playlist I have made where you can watch all the classes one by one. And if you are new to my channel, let me tell you, I have created this channel Literature Camp for the preparation of UGC NET and SET in English literature. If you have internet pack, you can simply watch the classes. And I am sure this channel is going to help you immensely for your preparation. Thanks for your attention.